Hi, I'm Andrew Moisey.
And I'm Goran Đurić.
Welcome to Movie to the Bones.
In our in-depth studies of most current films, we discuss those key elements that make up for great or not so great filmmaking.
We lift the veil on the filmmaking process to give you an entirely new perspective on film.
Join us in our discussions and learn how to watch movies through the eyes of filmmakers.
And now on to today's film, David Brent, Life on the Road. Life on the Road is the big screen debut of one of comedy's best-loved characters, David Brent, played by...
Maybe Ricky Gervais?
The one and only.
Oh, yes.
The film catches up with Brent 12 years on from BBC's The Office to find he's now a travelling salesman for a women's personal hygiene products company.
However, he hasn't given up on his dream of becoming rock star, and he's about to embark on a self-financed UK tour with the band called Foregone Conclusion. Brent cashes in his pensions and takes unpaid leave in a bid to turn his dream into reality. This is his last shot at fame
and fortune.
When I left Wernham Hog, I found myself again, and I started to do what I do best, entertain. Keep the noise down. Nah, turn it up.
Ricky Gervais is the kind of guy who bats for the underdog. At the Golden Globes, the film world's elite to make worthy targets of his acerbic humour. It's this kind of polarising humour that makes him loved and loathed by many. David Brent, Life on the Road, shows Ricky Gervais at his most sensitive. Without the help of Stephen Merchant, who is his co-writer and director on The Office series, he's created a David Brent that is more obviously vulnerable than his television counterpart. What was obnoxious on television is now a social deficit, partly due to a mental breakdown.
Well, look, I haven't seen The Office show, and I don't think that's much of relevance here. Ricky Gervais clearly stated at the beginning of the film, this is not an Office movie. It's a pity that almost no one has listened to him. Critics judged it poorly because it didn't advance the Office story. But David Brent did evolve. His hunger for fame and lack of social instincts led him over the years to depression and to that neurotic, quirky smile that reveals more than 1,000 words.
I was moved by this incarnation of David Brent, Goran, and I know you were too.
I was. I barely held off my tears at the end. It's strange. We were meant to laugh so much we cry, but we ended up crying out of sympathy.
We see the story of a man who's failed in life but carries on despite himself. It's quite a skill Gervais has in writing someone who's an archetypal loser that doesn't give in to himself. It's this aspect of the characterisation that drives the film forward. There's no major plot developments really.
Not really.
They're left at the end of the film when Brent gets some unexpected moral support from a co-worker, and that incident signals a potential relationship.
With regard to supporting characters, they are pretty weak, and some of them are written as a necessary commentary on David's life. Come on, we know he's pathetic without everyone around him telling us that. As you mentioned, Andrew, a script was pretty flat and plot was stalling at best. At times you might find yourself asking, for how long can I watch this person failing? But you do. And the answer is hidden in the way Gervais wrote the dialogue. Remember, other people's lives are fascinating to us. Success of reality shows is testimony to it. We are nothing else but voyeurs hooked on David's misery.
It's ironic, isn't it, Goran, that the other characters think Brent's a loser who struggles to be himself, and yet his commitment to his dream is what earns him the affection from the opposite sex he so craves.
And not only from the opposite sex, all of us. That's why I think the script was superbly written. The way others treat David Brent, essentially a douchebag, turned him into a hero in our own eyes.
There is a moral to the story, and I think it's to live well even if the cards are stacked against you. I thought it was hilarious he cashed in his pension to support the tour of his band. I mean, really?
I would probably do the same.
I mean, the guy's got no resources. You know, he's a sales rep for a sanitation company. No real evidence that people want to see his band.
Yeah.
And he risks his pension to go on the road. It's pretty funny. But then again, the implication is by being so brave, he might have scored a girlfriend. So does that make him a winner or a loser? You know, maybe he's a bit of both, like we all are.
We all did things just to be like. Come on, we all dreamt of being something more than we are. And hell yes, we all failed. So yes, what is so extraordinary about David? His ability to withstand all the blows without learning anything from them. I have one question for all of you. The question that keeps bugging me since I've seen the film. Do we feel sorry for David or we sympathize with him?
Good question.
In docu-comedy, as you know, entire weight of the film rests on the performers and editors. Conflicts between David and his surrounding musicians, concert goers or co-workers are there, but they're undercooked. Add to that underwhelming pace of the film and we should be ending up with perfect disaster. But as well with the script, we don't. Why? What is in this film then that keeps me away from my social apps for 96 minutes? It is the conflict that boils under David's skin. Gervais builds suspense around our expectation that David will have to break sooner or later. We want to see him realizing he's a loser. We want to see him on his knees. Or we see him failing, but strangely, his reluctance to admit defeat denies us that satisfaction. We talk a lot about Ricky Gervais, but his collaboration with cinematographer
Remy Adefasari?
Adefasari was essential.
Yes. Well, the cinema verite style is uniquely identifiable. The method they deploy helps make believable the central character.
Yeah.
Camera work shifts from being neutral when on the road to more engaged in the office scenes. There's no mistake the docu-comedy is about David Brent. The camera work emphasises Brent within the centre of the frame, while other characters and even the audience at his gigs are filmed relative to his position within the scene. This is an effective technique and maybe one that Gervais should trademark. Let's look at some examples.
Yeah.
Is the lead singer cool?
Just when you're thinking can't get any worse, you shoot a fat girl in the face with a t-shirt gun.
I let her keep the t-shirt, so it won't fit her. I like making people feel. I get inside your head, maybe get inside your heart. Guilty.
Without that, Andrew, Ricky Gervais is a wonderful talent, and it's a real pity that he set off his career so late. But what makes him compelling for me is not so much versatility of his acting as much as his inner personality that shines through every character he brings to life.
I think his acting deserves equal attention, even if his range is perhaps limited. When Brent makes a trip to his therapist, Dr. Keating, played by Nina Soziana, his facade falters. We get a glimpse into the intense anxiety that David Brent keeps at bay. It demonstrated to me what a great actor Gervais is. The changes in his character were subtle, but just enough to suggest the seismic emotional activity beneath that he lives in denial of. He's so good at the less is more approach.
This is one of those rare performances where it is almost impossible to distinguish where David begins and Ricky ends. Ricky knows very well how it feels to dream and face the wall for so long. Without those 20 plus years of anonymity, there wouldn't be any David Brent.
And the other actors have a similar approach. Their characterisations are obviously a collaborative effort with Gervais. They supply the straight men to his comic. Doc Brown as Dom was the epitome of a reluctant mate. And Tom Basden as Dan Harvey, the road manager, perhaps had the responsibility of delivering some of the film's most important lines. I like you, he says to David. Exactly what David yearns to hear, and delivered like someone who knows Brent in a way Brent doesn't think anyone could.
That single sentence delivered more emotional force than the entire film. I have goosebumps even now. Female colleagues are far more supportive and understanding. However, David seems to lack interest in what they feel or think.
Jo Hartley as Pauline provided compassionate relief from the constant jibes Brent seemed incapable of defending himself against. Her moment comes at the end of the film when she sees the bullying Brent experiences for what it is. It's a brief but angry performance that makes a point by being so unexpected.
Okay, unfortunately I have very mixed feelings about the score. The lyrics are cynical and painfully honest. True. But music is produced way too well to cause any serious laugh, and moreover Ricky claims that was never his intention anyway. He wanted to avoid parody we've seen, for example, in Monty Python series.
Well, we can thank Chris Martin from Coldplay for the slick production. This is probably the most contentious and controversial part of the film. David Brent's objectionable attitudes can be forgiven due to the nature of his character. He's trying to be one of the lads, but he lacks discernment. He's socially inept. But within the lyrics of his band Foregone Conclusion, certain attitudes are a bit harder to excuse. In the track Paris Nights, he sings of the late Princess Diana and her commitment to AIDS awareness. He sings with fondness, but the lyrics are so unsubtle that it ends up satirising and even mocking Elton John's rewrite of Candle in the Wind and other songs like it.
This is where Gervais' ego comes to equation, Andrew. His failed ambition to become a music star started to mess up with the creative process. He wanted to make a comedy about sales rep who has this crazy need of becoming rock star, but he didn't necessarily want to make fun of his songwriting. It would mean laughing at his own expense. We needed a clear contrast here. This sort of music would never turn audience away, as it does in the film.
That's right, yes.
Okay, Andrew, let's get something straight here. This was not the funniest comedy I've seen in my life, but it was one of the most pleasant cinema surprises I had this year. Aside from score, everything else went well above my expectations and resonated with me on so many different levels. I really recommend this film. Forget about The Office or Ricky Gervais' brutal humor. Go to cinema with open heart. You might go home as more of a human being. I actually award this film with 4 stars.
I was more a fan of Ricky Gervais' Extras sitcom because it was warmer and less acid in tone. This film has more in common with that series than The Office. This David Brent is a slightly different take on the original. Some of the film was heartbreaking and makes us think about our common humanity, flaws and all. I think the underlying message is that we all want to be liked, but not all of us know how to be liked. Even those people deserve compassion too. I give this film 3.5 stars.
And as everyone wants to be liked, we want to be liked as well.
That's right.
So please subscribe.
That's the thumb.